welcome and introduction. Hello everyone and welcome back to Hollybuzz, your destination for everything related to the world of movies. From upcoming blockbusters and highly anticipated releases to detailed story breakdowns, characters, performances, trailers, behind-the-scenes information, and everything that makes a film worth talking about. Today we are taking a closer look at a movie that has already generated attention because of its intense premise, action-driven atmosphere, and impressive creative team. The movie we are talking about today is Mutiny 2026. In this video, we are going to take you on a complete journey through everything you need to know about this upcoming action thriller, from the basic concept of the movie to the people bringing it to life on screen. Mutiny promises to take audiences into a world filled with danger, betrayal, violence, uncertainty, and high-stakes confrontation, where the characters cannot simply rely on strength. They must also make difficult decisions when survival and loyalty are placed under extreme pressure. The title itself, Mutiny, immediately suggests rebellion, conflict, and a breakdown of authority. And that gives us an early idea of the kind of tension we can expect from the story. But what exactly is this movie about? Who are the main characters? What makes the story different from other action thrillers? Who is directing it? Who wrote the screenplay? And which actors are taking on the major roles? What can we learn from the trailers and promotional material? And most importantly, why is Mutiny a movie that audiences should keep an eye on in 2026? We are going to explore all of these questions throughout this video. We will also look at the movie's genre, release information, production background, filming, cast, character development, action elements, themes, visual style, soundtrack, audience expectations, and the details that make this project particularly interesting. So whether you have already watched the trailer and are eagerly waiting for the movie, or you are hearing about Mutiny for the first time, this video will give you a complete introduction to the project before we move into the deeper analysis. As always, our goal here at Hollybuzz is not simply to tell you what a movie is about, but to help you understand the story, the filmmaking, the characters, and the ideas behind it. So make yourself comfortable, stay with us until the end, and get ready to discover everything we currently know about Mutiny 2026. Let's begin our journey into this upcoming action thriller and find out what makes Mutiny one of the movies to watch in 2026. What this video covers. In today's complete Hollybuzz breakdown of Mutiny 2026, we are going to explore the movie from every important angle, giving you a detailed look at the story, filmmaking, characters, action, and everything surrounding this highly anticipated project. We will begin with a clear overview of the movie so you can understand its basic premise and the kind of world in which the story takes place. From there, we will look at its genre, release date, runtime, production company, director, writer, screenplay, producers, and the creative team responsible for bringing the project to life. We will also discuss why this movie was made, the ideas and inspiration behind it, and how the project developed before reaching the screen. After that, we will explore the filming locations and go behind the scenes to uncover interesting production details and facts that may not be obvious from the finished movie. We will then move into the trailer and examine what it reveals about the story, characters, action sequences, atmosphere, and possible conflicts, while also discussing the public response and expectations surrounding the movie. A major part of this video will focus on the characters, including the main hero, supporting characters, their personalities, motivations, relationships, and development throughout the story. We will also examine the movie's themes and symbolism, important scenes, hidden details, Easter eggs, positive and negative aspects, memorable dialogue, performances, cinematography, visual effects, background music, and overall cinematic style. Finally, we will discuss the movie's budget and box office expectations, audience response and ratings, critics' opinions, possible lessons and moral ideas, and whether there could be future installments or franchise plans. And at the end of our journey, we will give you our overall verdict on Mutiny 2026 and discuss what makes this movie worth watching or what might hold it back. So stay with us throughout the video, because by the end, you will have a complete picture of Mutiny, from its origins and production to its characters, story, action, reception, and overall impact. This is Hollybuzz, and let's get started. Movie overview. Mutiny 2026 is an upcoming action thriller, centered on a man who finds himself caught in a dangerous situation involving betrayal, violence, and a struggle for control. The movie takes its title from the idea of mutiny, a rebellion against established authority, and this concept forms an important part of the story's dramatic foundation. Rather than presenting its characters with an ordinary conflict, the film places them in circumstances where trust begins to break down and where survival may depend on discovering who can actually be trusted. At the center of the story is Cole Reed, a former Royal Marines commando who is drawn into a dangerous situation after the death of a billionaire. What initially appears to be a tragic event gradually develops into something much more complicated, forcing Cole to confront powerful people and uncover information that could put his own life in danger. As the situation becomes increasingly dangerous, he has to rely on his military experience, determination, and ability to react under pressure. The story combines elements of action, suspense, conspiracy, and personal survival. Cole is not simply fighting an obvious enemy from the beginning. Instead, the movie gradually creates uncertainty about the people surrounding him and the motives behind the events taking place. This allows the story to build tension through both physical action and the mystery surrounding the larger conflict. One of the central ideas of the movie is the question of trust. When someone discovers that the people or institutions around them may not be what they appear to be, every decision becomes more complicated. Cole must determine whom he can believe while simultaneously trying to protect himself from those who may want him silenced. The movie also uses Cole's military background as an important part of his character. His experience as a former Royal Marines commando gives him abilities that become valuable when the situation turns violent. His training allows him to respond to danger, but his military experience does not automatically solve every problem. He must also understand the larger conspiracy and determine why he has become involved in it. As the story develops, the stakes become increasingly personal. Cole is no longer simply trying to understand what happened. He is forced into a fight where his own survival is at risk. The movie therefore combines the investigation of a mysterious event with increasingly intense action sequences, creating a story in which discovering the truth and staying alive become connected objectives. The title Mutiny also gives the movie a broader thematic meaning. Mutiny traditionally refers to rebellion against authority, especially within a military or organized structure. In the context of the film, the concept suggests a breakdown of loyalty and obedience. Characters may have to decide whether they should follow orders, question authority, or take matters into their own hands when they believe something is wrong. This creates an interesting foundation for the protagonist's journey. Cole is a trained military man who understands discipline and hierarchy, yet the circumstances surrounding him force him to question the people and systems that are supposed to provide order. The conflict therefore becomes more than a simple physical battle. It also becomes a struggle between loyalty and truth. The overall tone of Mutiny is designed to keep the audience moving from one dangerous situation to another while gradually revealing more about the larger mystery. The movie combines moments of investigation with action and suspense, allowing the audience to discover information alongside the protagonist. At the same time, the story is built around the idea that appearances can be deceptive. A person who seems trustworthy may have another agenda, while someone who appears suspicious may possess information that becomes essential to Cole's survival. This uncertainty gives the movie its thriller element and keeps the audience questioning what is really happening. Overall, Mutiny 2026 can be described as a high-stakes action thriller about a former commando who becomes caught in a dangerous conspiracy following the death of a powerful billionaire. As Cole Reed searches for the truth, he is forced to confront betrayal, hidden motives, and increasingly dangerous enemies. His military training gives him the tools to survive, but discovering the truth requires something more than physical strength. It requires courage, judgment, and the willingness to challenge people in positions of power. For Hollybuzz, the simplest way to understand the movie is this. A former Royal Marines commando becomes caught in a deadly conspiracy after a billionaire's death, forcing him to uncover the truth while fighting to stay alive. The combination of mystery, betrayal, military experience, and intense action forms the central foundation of Mutiny 2026. Mutiny 2026 is primarily an action thriller, combining intense physical action with suspense, danger, mystery, and a high-stakes personal conflict. The movie is designed to keep the audience under constant pressure by placing its central character in situations where he has to make quick decisions while trying to understand a much larger threat surrounding him. The action element is one of the most important parts of the movie's identity. The central character, Cole Reed, is a former Royal Marines commando so the story naturally gives him the skills and experience necessary for intense combat situations. His military background allows the film to include physical confrontations, weapons, tactical situations, pursuit sequences, and moments in which survival depends on his ability to react quickly. However, the action is not simply included for spectacle, it is connected to the larger conflict surrounding the character. The second major genre is thriller. A thriller is built around suspense, uncertainty, danger, and anticipation, and Mutiny uses these elements to keep the audience questioning what is really happening. Cole is pulled into a situation involving the death of a billionaire, but the circumstances surrounding that event are not as simple as they initially appear. As more information begins to emerge, the protagonist has to determine who is telling the truth and who may be working against him. This creates an important mystery element within the story. The audience is not expected to know everything immediately. Instead, information is gradually revealed, allowing viewers to discover the larger situation alongside Cole. This approach creates curiosity because every new piece of information can change the way we understand the previous events. Another important genre element is conspiracy thriller. The story involves powerful individuals, hidden motives, and a dangerous situation that appears to extend beyond one isolated incident. Conspiracy stories are usually built around the idea that something important is happening behind the scenes, while the main character must uncover the truth before it is too late. This makes the story more complicated than a straightforward fight between a hero and a clearly identified villain. The movie also contains elements of a military action thriller because of Cole Reed's background as a former Royal Marines commando. His training and experience influence the way he responds to danger. Instead of behaving like an ordinary civilian suddenly placed into an action movie, Cole has a professional understanding of combat, discipline, tactics, and physical survival. This military background also creates an interesting contrast within the story. Cole understands authority, command structures, and loyalty because of his previous career. But when he becomes involved in a situation where trust is uncertain, those ideas can be challenged. The title Mutiny itself reinforces this connection, because mutiny traditionally involves rebellion against authority or established command. There is also a strong survival element. Once Cole becomes a target, staying alive becomes one of his immediate priorities. He has to use his abilities, intelligence, and experience to deal with threats while simultaneously attempting to understand the larger conspiracy. This combination of survival and investigation gives the film a fast-moving structure. The movie can also be described as a crime thriller to some extent because its central conflict begins with a death and develops into a wider investigation involving hidden information and powerful individuals. However, crime is not necessarily the only focus. The story expands into a larger action-driven conflict, which is why the broader classification of action thriller is more appropriate. What makes the combination of these genres interesting is that each one contributes something different. Action provides physical excitement. Thriller elements create suspense. Mystery encourages the audience to search for answers. Conspiracy creates uncertainty about who can be trusted. And the military background gives the protagonist a believable set of skills for dealing with dangerous situations. The genre also influences the pacing of the movie. An action thriller normally cannot remain slow for too long because the audience expects tension and movement. At the same time, the mystery requires enough space for information to be revealed gradually. Mutiny, therefore, has to balance action sequences with moments of investigation, character interaction, and discovery. Another important characteristic of the genre is that the protagonist is placed under continuous pressure. Cole does not have the luxury of calmly investigating everything from a safe environment. The danger around him means that his investigation and survival happen simultaneously. Every new discovery can potentially create another threat. Ultimately, Mutiny 2026 belongs primarily to the action thriller genre, with strong elements of military action, conspiracy, mystery, crime, and survival thriller. The combination gives the movie a broad appeal. Viewers who enjoy action can focus on the combat and physical danger, while audiences who prefer thrillers can follow the mystery, conspiracy, and questions surrounding the protagonist. So, rather than being simply an action movie where one hero fights his way through enemies, Mutiny aims to combine action with suspense and mystery. The physical conflict keeps the audience engaged, while the unanswered questions encourage them to continue watching to discover who is responsible. why Cole has become involved, and whether he can uncover the truth before it is too late. Now let's talk about the release date of Mutiny 2026, because this is one of the most important details for audiences who are waiting to see Jason Statham's latest action thriller on the big screen. Mutiny is scheduled for a wide theatrical release in the United States on August 23rd, 2026. The movie is being released by Lionsgate, and the current schedule places its theatrical debut in the final part of the summer movie season. Interestingly, the movie's release date was not always August 21st. Earlier plans had placed Mutiny on the January 9th, 2026 release schedule, but Lionsgate later moved the film to its current August date. This kind of release date change is not unusual in Hollywood. Studios regularly adjust schedules according to the overall movie calendar, competition from other releases, marketing plans, and the timing they believe will give a film the strongest opportunity to reach its target audience. The August 21st release is particularly significant because Mutiny is designed as a big-screen action thriller. The movie features Jason Statham as Cole Reed, a former Special Forces soldier in private security professional who becomes caught in a dangerous conspiracy after being framed for his billionaire employer's murder. The film combines mystery with action and places much of its conflict around a cargo ship, making the theatrical presentation an important part of the movie's appeal. For international audiences, the exact release date can vary by country. Current listings indicate that some international markets are scheduled to receive the movie around August 19, 2026, rather than necessarily opening on exactly the same day everywhere. Therefore, viewers outside the United States should check their local cinema listings for the precise opening date in their country. So the key date to remember for Mutiny 2026 is August 24, 2026, when the movie is scheduled to arrive in U.S. theaters. For Hollybuzz, this release date is important because it marks the point when audiences will finally be able to move beyond trailers and promotional material and experience the complete story of Cole Reed, his fight for survival, and the international conspiracy surrounding him on the big screen. The August 24th release is particularly significant because Mutiny is designed as a big-screen action thriller. The movie features Jason Statham as Cole Reed, a former Special Forces soldier in private security professional who becomes caught in a dangerous conspiracy after being framed for his billionaire employer's murder. The film combines mystery with action and places much of its conflict around a cargo ship, making the theatrical presentation an important part of the movie's appeal. For international audiences, the exact release date can vary by country. Current listings indicate that some international markets are scheduled to receive the movie around August 19, 2026, rather than necessarily opening on exactly the same day everywhere. Therefore, viewers outside the United States should check their local cinema listings for the precise opening date in their country. So the key date to remember for Mutiny 2026 is August 24, 2026, when the movie is scheduled to arrive in U.S. theaters. For Hollybuzz, this release date is important because it marks the point when audiences will finally be able to move beyond trailers and promotional material and experience the complete story of Cole Reed, his fight for survival, and the international conspiracy surrounding him on the big screen. Now, let's talk about the runtime of Mutiny 2026. The movie has a reported runtime of approximately 1 hour and 40 minutes, which means audiences can expect a relatively compact action thriller experience rather than an extremely long film. A runtime of around 1 hour and 40 minutes can work particularly well for an action thriller because it gives the filmmakers enough time to establish the protagonist, introduce the central conflict, develop the mystery, and deliver the major action sequences without allowing the story to become unnecessarily stretched. For a movie like Mutiny, where the narrative revolves around danger, conspiracy, betrayal, and survival, maintaining momentum is extremely important. The runtime also suggests that the filmmakers are aiming for a fast-paced cinematic experience. Action thrillers generally depend on forward movement. One event leads to another. New information increases the danger, and the protagonist is repeatedly forced to respond to changing circumstances. A shorter runtime can help maintain that momentum and prevent the movie from spending too much time on material that does not directly contribute to the central conflict. At the same time, approximately 1 hour and 40 minutes gives the movie enough space to establish Cole Reed's situation before the major action begins. The audience needs to understand who Cole is, what has happened to him, and why he has suddenly become involved in a dangerous conspiracy. Without that foundation, the action would have less emotional impact. The runtime also has to accommodate the movie's thriller elements. Mutiny is not expected to be action from beginning to end. The story needs quieter moments where information can be revealed, characters can interact, and the audience can begin to understand the mystery surrounding the protagonist. These moments are essential because suspense depends on anticipation as much as physical action. Another advantage of this runtime is that it can make the film easier to watch as a focused, straightforward action thriller. Some modern blockbusters extend well beyond 2 hours, but a movie of around 1 hour and 40 minutes can deliver its story more directly. This can be especially effective when the central plot is built around one major conflict rather than multiple, unrelated storylines. For the audience, the runtime also means that the movie can potentially maintain a strong sense of urgency. If the story is structured efficiently, there should be relatively little time between major developments. Cole's situation can become progressively more dangerous, allowing the film to build toward its major confrontations without losing the tension established earlier. However, the success of a runtime is ultimately determined by how effectively the time is used. A short movie can still feel slow if scenes are poorly paced, while a much longer movie can feel surprisingly fast when the story is engaging. Therefore, the reported runtime alone does not determine the quality of the film. What matters is whether the screenplay and editing use those minutes effectively. In the case of Mutiny, the approximately 100-minute runtime creates the expectation of a concentrated action thriller experience. The film has to introduce its characters, establish the conspiracy, develop the danger, deliver its action sequences, and bring the central conflict to a satisfying conclusion within that limited amount of time. So for Hollybuzz, the key point is simple. Mutiny 2026 has a reported runtime of around 1 hour and 40 minutes, giving audiences a relatively concise movie that is well suited to the fast-moving nature of an action thriller. Now let's look at the production companies behind Mutiny 2026. This is an important part of understanding how the movie was developed and brought to the screen because production companies are responsible for organizing the filmmaking process, financing and managing the project, coordinating the creative departments, and working with distributors to bring the completed film to audiences. The principal production company associated with Mutiny is Punch Palace Productions, a company connected with the film's producer and star Jason Statham. Statham's involvement therefore extends beyond acting. His production role gives him a more direct connection to the development and overall filmmaking process. Another major company involved with the movie is Lionsgate, one of Hollywood's major entertainment studios. Lionsgate is handling the film's distribution, giving Mutiny access to the company's international theatrical network and marketing infrastructure. For an action movie built around a major star such as Jason Statham, the involvement of a large studio is particularly significant because the film requires extensive promotion to reach audiences in different markets. The project also has connections with Lionsgate's international distribution operations, which are important because action thrillers often have a broad global audience. Jason Statham's movies, in particular, have historically attracted viewers well beyond the United States, making international theatrical distribution an important part of the movie's commercial strategy. Behind the production is also a team of experienced filmmakers who work between the production companies, director, cast, and technical departments. Their responsibility is to turn the screenplay into a finished film while managing the practical challenges of filming action sequences, working with large crews, coordinating locations, and completing post-production. The production structure is particularly important for Mutiny because the movie is not a simple studio drama. It is an action thriller involving large-scale physical sequences, stunts, weapons, ships, and demanding locations. Such a production requires careful coordination between stunt departments, cinematographers, production designers, special effects teams, sound departments, editors, and many other professionals. The involvement of Jason Statham as both star and producer is also an interesting aspect of the production. Statham has extensive experience with action cinema, so his understanding of physical performance, stunt work, and action choreography can be valuable during production. His role allows him to contribute not only as the actor portraying Cole Reed, but also as one of the people involved in shaping the movie. Behind the camera, the collaboration between the production companies and director, Jean-François Richet, is another important element. The director is responsible for translating the screenplay into the visual language of the film, while the producers and production companies provide the resources and organizational structure needed to achieve that vision. Ultimately, the production companies are the foundation that allows all the individual elements of Mutiny to come together. The actors may be the faces audiences recognize, and the director may be the creative leader. But a major action movie requires an enormous organization behind the scenes. For Hollybuzz, the key names to remember are Punch Palace Productions and Lionsgate, with Lionsgate serving as the major studio and distributor associated with the film. Together with the filmmakers, cast, and technical crews, these companies helped turn Mutiny from a screenplay into a full-scale cinematic production. So when you see the production logos at the beginning or end of Mutiny 2026, remember that they represent much more than corporate names. Behind those logos is the financial planning, logistical coordination, filmmaking infrastructure, and international distribution network required to bring a major action thriller to audiences around the world. Now, let's talk about the writer and screenplay of Mutiny 2026, because the screenplay is the foundation that connects the movie's characters, action, suspense, and conspiracy into one complete story. Before the actors perform their roles and before the action sequences are filmed, the screenplay establishes what the characters will do, what conflicts they will face, how the story will progress, and how the audience will gradually discover the truth. The screenplay for Mutiny was written by J.W. Callahan, a writer known for working on action-oriented material. His screenplay creates the foundation for a story centered around Cole Reed, a former Special Forces operative who becomes involved in a dangerous situation. Following the murder of his billionaire employer, the story begins with a relatively straightforward situation, but gradually develops into a much larger conflict. Cole is forced to confront circumstances that threaten both his safety and his understanding of what has happened. This structure gives the screenplay its thriller component, because the audience is not expected to understand the entire situation immediately. One of the most important challenges for the screenwriter was creating a protagonist who could carry both the action and mystery elements of the movie. Cole is not simply an ordinary person who accidentally finds himself in danger. His military background means that he possesses specialized skills, allowing the screenplay to place him in physically demanding situations without making his abilities feel completely unrealistic. At the same time, his professional training cannot solve every problem. The screenplay has to give him challenges that require more than fighting. He must understand the conspiracy, identify the people working against him, and determine whom he can trust. This combination of physical and intellectual challenges keeps the story from becoming nothing more than a sequence of action scenes. The screenplay also uses betrayal and uncertainty as important dramatic tools. The title Mutiny itself suggests a breakdown of loyalty and authority, and the story explores what happens when people can no longer rely on the structures they once trusted. This creates a situation where Cole has to question the motives of the people around him. Another important element of the screenplay is the high-stakes nature of the central conflict. Cole is not simply investigating something out of curiosity. His investigation is directly connected to his survival. The more he discovers, the greater the danger becomes. This allows the screenplay to increase tension progressively, rather than revealing everything at the beginning. The writing also provides opportunities for action sequences to serve the story. In a strong action thriller, fights, pursuits, weapons, and physical confrontations should not exist only for visual excitement. They should move the narrative forward or reveal something about the characters, Cole's abilities, and decisions during dangerous situations, therefore become part of the storytelling. Another important aspect of the screenplay is its relationship with Jason Statham's screen persona. Statham is widely associated with physically intense action roles, and the screenplay gives him a character whose military background naturally fits that style. Cole's experience allows the film to make use of Statham's strengths as an action performer while still giving the character a larger mystery to solve. The screenplay also has to balance pace and character development. Because Mutiny is an action thriller, the story needs to move quickly, but the audience must still understand why Cole is making certain decisions. The writer therefore has to provide enough character information and dialogue to establish motivations, without slowing the story unnecessarily. A major strength of an action thriller, screenplay is often its ability to create a chain reaction of events. One discovery leads to another problem, one confrontation creates another threat, and every attempt by the protagonist to escape can reveal something new. Mutiny uses this kind of structure to keep Cole moving forward rather than allowing the story to become static. The screenplay also gives the film its central question: who can Cole trust and what is really happening behind the events surrounding him? This question keeps the mystery alive, while the action provides the physical pressure. The audience therefore has two reasons to continue watching, wanting to see what happens next and wanting to discover the truth. Another important aspect of the writing is the relationship between authority and rebellion. The word mutiny carries a very specific meaning, a rebellion against established authority. By using this concept as the title, the screenplay creates an expectation that loyalty, command, and power will be challenged. This idea can be reflected not only in the external action, but also in Cole's personal decisions. The screenplay ultimately has to bring together several different elements: military experience, conspiracy, betrayal, action, survival, and mystery. If any one of these elements dominates too much, the movie could lose its balance. The writing therefore serves as the structure that allows these different components to work together for Hollybuzz. The most important thing to understand about the screenplay is that the action is only one part of the story. Beneath the physical confrontations is a mystery about power, loyalty, and hidden motives. Cole's journey is driven by his need to understand what has happened, but every step toward the truth places him in greater danger. In the end, the screenplay gives Mutiny 2026 its basic dramatic engine. A highly trained protagonist is placed inside a dangerous conspiracy and must use both his physical abilities and his judgment to uncover the truth and survive. The writing creates the situations, conflicts, and character decisions that the director and actors then transform into the finished cinematic experience. That is why the writer and screenplay are so important. The explosions, fights, chase sequences, and visual spectacle may be what catches the audience's attention, but the screenplay is what gives those moments a reason to exist and connects them into one continuous story. Now let's talk about the producers of Mutiny 2026 and the important role they played in bringing this action thriller to the screen. While the director is responsible for the overall creative direction of a movie, the producers are responsible for managing many of the practical, financial, and organizational aspects that allow the director and cast to actually make the film. One of the most notable names connected to the production is Jason Statham, who is not only the leading actor, but is also involved as a producer. This makes his role in Mutiny particularly interesting because he has a direct connection to the project, from both sides of the camera. As the actor playing Cole Reed, he is responsible for portraying the central character, while his producer role gives him involvement in the broader filmmaking process. Statham's experience in action cinema makes his producing involvement especially relevant. He has spent much of his career performing physically demanding roles, involving combat, weapons, driving, stunts, and intense action sequences. As a producer, that experience can help him contribute to decisions concerning the tone and presentation of the action, as well as the way his character is developed within the larger story. The production team also includes Robert Kravis, Christopher Tuffin, and Kevin King Templeton, who are credited as producers on the project. Their work involves helping coordinate the many different elements required to turn the screenplay into a finished feature film. A producer's job is much broader than simply providing money for a movie. Producers work with the studio, director, writers, actors, department heads, and other members of the filmmaking team. They help make sure that the project remains organized and that the production continues, moving forward according to its schedule and available resources. For a movie like Mutiny, this responsibility is particularly demanding because action films require extensive preparation. Large action sequences may involve stunt performers, special effects crews, weapons coordinators, vehicles, complex locations, safety personnel, camera teams, and visual effects artists. All of these departments have to work together, and producers help ensure that this complicated process is properly coordinated. The producers also have an important role in supporting the director, Jean-François Richet. A director may have a particular vision for how the story should look and feel, but turning that vision into reality requires practical resources. Producers help create the conditions in which the director can execute that creative vision. Another important responsibility is budget management. Action movies can become extremely expensive because of locations, equipment, stunt work, special effects, transportation, insurance, post-production, and large crews. Producers must constantly balance creative ambition with financial realities. The goal is to make the movie as effective as possible without allowing production costs to become uncontrolled. The producers are also involved in the transition from production to post-production. Once filming is complete, the movie still needs editing. Visual effects, sound design, music, color correction, and final technical work. Producers help oversee this process and coordinate with the studio to ensure that the finished film is ready for release. The involvement of Jason Statham as producer and lead actor is particularly important because it gives the project a close connection to someone with extensive knowledge of action filmmaking. Statham understands the physical demands of the genre and has experience working with directors, stunt teams, and action departments. His dual role therefore adds another layer to the production. At the same time, producing requires a different mindset from acting. An actor concentrates primarily on a character and performance, while a producer has to think about the entire project. The producer must consider the screenplay, schedule, budget, cast, crew, locations, post-production, marketing, and final delivery of the movie. This makes the producer team essential to the overall success of Mutiny. The director shapes the creative vision. The writer creates the screenplay. The actors bring the characters to life, and the technical departments create the visual and audio experience. But producers help connect all of these pieces together. For Hollybuzz, the most important producer to remember is Jason Statham, because his involvement goes beyond his leading performance as Cole Reed. Alongside the other producers, he helped support the project from behind the scenes while preparing to portray its central character on screen. Ultimately, the producers are part of the reason Mutiny 2026 can function as a large-scale action thriller rather than simply a small character. Drama. The film requires extensive coordination, careful planning, substantial resources, and close collaboration between many departments. So when audiences watch Mutiny, they will see Jason Statham running, fighting, surviving, and uncovering the conspiracy as Cole Reed. But behind those scenes is another side of his involvement. The producer helping build the film itself. That combination of acting and producing makes Statham one of the key creative figures. Connected to the project, the filming of Mutiny 2026 took place primarily in the United Kingdom and Malta, giving the movie two very different visual environments. The production began in the United Kingdom, where the filmmakers used real locations in and around London to establish the modern corporate and urban side of the story. Later, the production moved to Malta, where the Mediterranean environment became particularly useful for the movie's maritime action and cargo ship setting. One of the most recognizable British filming locations was Canary Wharf in London. The production filmed around 1 Canada Square, one of the most recognizable skyscrapers in London's financial district. The area provided the filmmakers with a modern, high-rise corporate environment that fits the world. Surrounding Cole Reed and his billionaire employer, the use of Canary Wharf is particularly effective because the architecture immediately communicates wealth, international business, and corporate power. Instead of having to construct an artificial business district inside a studio, the filmmakers could use the real environment of one of London's most important financial areas. The enormous glass buildings, modern streets, and busy urban atmosphere give the early sections of the movie a realistic sense of scale. An especially notable production detail is that filming temporarily locked down the entrance to 1 Canada Square at Canary Wharf. This demonstrates the scale of the location work involved in the production. When a major film shoots in a busy financial district, the crew has to coordinate with local authorities, security teams, businesses, transportation services, and members of the public to create a controlled environment for filming. London therefore serves an important storytelling purpose. The city represents the modern world of business, wealth, power, and international connections surrounding the central conspiracy. The contrast between the sophisticated corporate environment and the dangerous events that follow helps establish the movie's thriller atmosphere. After filming in the United Kingdom, the production also moved to Malta. Malta was particularly valuable because of its Mediterranean coastline, ports, and maritime environments. These locations are closely connected to the movie's central action because Cole Reed eventually boards a cargo ship while pursuing the truth behind his billionaire employer's murder. The move from London to Malta also creates a visual change within the movie. London provides a dense urban and corporate environment, while Malta offers open water, ports, ships, and Mediterranean landscapes. This allows the film to visually expand as Cole's situation becomes more dangerous and the story moves away from the familiar world of corporate offices and city streets. The cargo ship environment is especially important because much of the movie's physical conflict is connected to the vessel. Filming around real maritime environments can create a much stronger sense of authenticity than attempting to reproduce every ship-related scene digitally. The size, movement, metal structures, narrow corridors, decks, machinery, and surrounding water all provide natural elements that can be used in action sequences for an action film. Real locations also create practical challenges. A ship is a complicated environment for filming because space can be limited. Equipment must be carefully positioned, and stunt sequences require detailed safety planning. The filmmakers therefore had to coordinate actors, stunt performers, camera crews, lighting teams, sound departments, and safety personnel while working in demanding environments. The combination of London and Malta also reflects the international nature of the story itself. Mutiny is built around an international conspiracy, so the movie benefits from moving its characters through environments that feel geographically and culturally different. The locations help make the conspiracy feel larger than a conflict happening in a single city. Another important advantage of using real locations is the effect on the actors' performances. When performers are actually standing inside a massive financial district or on a real maritime location, they have physical surroundings to react to. This can make action and dramatic scenes feel more immediate and believable. The filming locations also contribute to the movie's overall visual identity. The London sequences can emphasize modernity, wealth, power, and secrecy, while the Malta sequences can emphasize isolation, danger, movement, and survival. This difference helps the audience feel that Cole is being pushed farther and farther away from the controlled world he once knew. The production's use of real locations is therefore more than a technical decision. The places themselves become part of the storytelling. London helps establish the world of the billionaire and the conspiracy, while Malta provides the maritime environment where the story can develop into a more intense physical struggle. By filming in both the United Kingdom and Malta, the production was able to combine sophisticated urban environments with large-scale Mediterranean maritime settings. This gives Mutiny a broader cinematic scale while keeping the action grounded in recognizable real-world locations. For Hollybuzz, the key filming location facts are simple. Principal photography began in the United Kingdom in September 2024. Major London filming included Canary Wharf and One Canada Square. Additional filming took place in Malta, and production wrapped on November 25, 2024. Ultimately, these locations helped turn Mutiny into more than a series of action scenes. They established the different worlds through which Cole Reed moves, from London's corporate power centers to the dangerous maritime environment of the Mediterranean. The locations, therefore, become an important visual part of Cole's journey from a controlled professional life into a world of conspiracy, pursuit, and survival. So, why was Mutiny 2026 made in the first place? At its core, the movie was created to deliver a high-energy action thriller built around betrayal, conspiracy, survival, and a powerful central character. The filmmakers wanted to take the familiar idea of a man being hunted by powerful forces and place it inside a larger, international story where the hero has to fight not only for his survival but also to discover the truth behind the events surrounding him. One of the major reasons for making Mutiny was the opportunity to create a role specifically suited to Jason Statham's strengths as an action performer. Statham has become strongly associated with physically intense characters who are capable, determined, and placed under extreme pressure. Mutiny gives him another opportunity to play a character whose military background naturally fits this type of storytelling. Cole Reed is not an ordinary protagonist who suddenly becomes an action hero. His previous experience gives him the skills and instincts necessary to deal with dangerous situations, making the action feel connected to his character, rather than simply added for spectacle. The movie was also made to combine action with a mystery-driven story. Many action films focus primarily on physical confrontation, But Mutiny adds an investigative element. Cole is drawn into a situation surrounding the death of his billionaire employer, and the story gradually forces him to question what he knows. This gives the audience a reason to keep watching beyond the action itself. They want to understand what is really happening. Another important reason behind the project is the appeal of the conspiracy thriller. Stories involving powerful people, hidden motives, betrayal, and secret agendas have a natural ability to create suspense. In Mutiny, the protagonist is placed in a situation where he cannot simply trust the people around him. The story therefore creates tension by making the audience wonder who is telling the truth and who may be manipulating events. The title itself also reflects one of the central ideas behind the movie. The word mutiny refers to rebellion against established authority, particularly within a military or organized structure. By using this word as the title, the film immediately establishes an atmosphere of conflict between loyalty and rebellion. The story can therefore explore what happens when a person is forced to question the authority, systems, or people he once trusted. The movie was also created to provide audiences with a large-scale cinematic action experience. The filmmakers had an opportunity to combine urban environments, maritime settings, physical combat, chase sequences, and large practical action moments. These elements are designed to work especially well on a cinema screen, where the scale and intensity of the action can have a greater impact. Another reason for making Mutiny is the continuing global popularity of Jason Statham-led action movies. Statham has developed an international audience that recognizes him as one of the major contemporary action stars. A new action thriller starring him, therefore, has an established audience even before the movie reaches theaters. His presence gives the project a clear identity and makes it easier for audiences to immediately understand the type of cinematic experience they can expect. At the same time, the filmmakers were not simply trying to repeat an existing formula. The addition of the conspiracy and mystery elements gives the movie another layer. Cole is not only fighting enemies, he is trying to understand why he has become a target and what larger forces are operating behind the scenes. The movie was also made because the story provides an opportunity to explore trust and betrayal. When a character discovers that the situation around him is not what it appears to be, his relationships become uncertain. Every new piece of information can change his understanding of the people around him. This allows the action to have an emotional foundation rather than existing completely independently from the story. Another motivation behind the movie is the desire to create a protagonist who is capable but not invincible. Cole has extensive training and experience, but his skills do not automatically guarantee success. He still has to make difficult decisions, deal with uncertainty, and survive situations that are beyond his control. This makes the character more suitable for a thriller because the audience can still feel that he is in genuine danger. The movie also gives the filmmakers an opportunity to combine the military action tradition with modern conspiracy storytelling. Cole's background provides the tactical and physical side of the story, while the mystery surrounding his employer's death provides the intellectual and suspenseful side. Together, these elements create a broader action thriller experience. From a commercial perspective, Mutiny was also made because the combination of a recognizable action star, an established studio, and an accessible thriller concept can appeal to an international audience. Action movies often travel well across different markets because their storytelling relies heavily on visual action, suspense, and physical performance rather than depending entirely on culturally specific humor or dialogue. But beyond commercial considerations, the central creative purpose is simple: to tell a tense story about a man who is forced to fight against a situation he does not fully understand. Cole begins with a professional background that should make him prepared for danger, but the conspiracy surrounding him creates a different kind of threat, one where knowing how to fight is not enough. He must also know whom to trust and when to question the information being given to him. So, when we ask why Mutiny was made, the answer is not just to create another action movie. The project brings together several elements: Jason Statham's action star appeal, a military-trained protagonist, an international conspiracy, betrayal, mystery, survival, and large-scale action. The filmmakers are ultimately trying to give audiences an experience that combines the physical excitement of an action film with the uncertainty of a thriller. The audience should not only wonder who will win the fight, but also who is really behind everything. And can Cole trust anyone? And that combination is the real purpose behind Mutiny 2026. To take a familiar action hero setup and place it inside a story where loyalty is uncertain, authority can be challenged, and discovering the truth can be just as dangerous as fighting for survival. When we talk about the inspiration behind Mutiny 2026, the movie appears to be built around a combination of several familiar but powerful action thriller ideas: betrayal, revenge, military experience, conspiracy, survival, and the question of whom a person can trust when everything around him begins to collapse. The screenplay was written by Lindsay Michelle and J.P. Davis, while Jean-François Richet directed the film. Publicly available production information does not point to one particular historical event or true story as the direct inspiration for the movie. Instead, the project appears to draw its identity from the traditions of modern action and conspiracy thrillers. One of the clearest inspirations behind the concept is the classic wrongly accused hero. Cole Reed is placed in a situation where he becomes the target of suspicion after his billionaire employer is murdered. Instead of being treated as a hero or witness, he is framed for the crime. This immediately creates the kind of pressure that is common in conspiracy thrillers. The protagonist has to prove his innocence while simultaneously trying to discover who is actually responsible. The movie also draws heavily from the idea of the highly trained action hero. Cole has a background in special forces and previously served as a New York police officer before working in private security. That background gives the filmmakers a believable reason to place him in dangerous situations. He is not learning how to survive after the story begins. He already possesses the experience and skills needed to fight back. The real challenge is discovering the truth behind the conspiracy surrounding him. Another major source of inspiration is the conspiracy thriller tradition. The story begins with a murder, but the investigation gradually expands into something much larger. Cole discovers an international conspiracy while searching for the real killer. This allows the movie to move beyond a simple revenge story and introduce questions about hidden organizations, powerful individuals, loyalty, and manipulation. The title Mutiny also gives us an important clue about the movie's thematic inspiration. Traditionally, mutiny means rebellion against established authority, particularly within a military or organized group. Although the movie is not simply a historical story about sailors rebelling against a captain, the word carries ideas of rebellion, disobedience, broken loyalty, and conflict with authority. Those ideas fit naturally with Cole's situation, because he is forced to question the people and systems surrounding him. The cargo ship setting adds another layer to the movie's inspiration. Cole boards a cargo ship as he pursues the truth, turning the vessel into a confined environment for the action. A ship is particularly useful for a thriller because characters cannot simply walk away whenever danger appears. The limited space, surrounding ocean, different levels, corridors, machinery, and isolation naturally create opportunities for tension and physical confrontation. The official synopsis specifically places Cole aboard a cargo ship during his pursuit of the truth. There is also a clear connection between the movie's concept and Jason Statham's established action star image. Statham has built a career around characters who are physically capable, determined, and often forced into dangerous situations. Mutiny places him in another role that takes advantage of those strengths, but it adds the conspiracy element so that Cole is not simply fighting enemies from beginning to end. He is also trying to understand why he has been targeted and who is controlling events behind the scenes. The involvement of Jean-François Richet is another interesting part of the film's creative foundation. Richet has experience directing action-heavy films, including Plane, which also starred a major action performer and placed its characters in a highly dangerous, confined environment. That background makes him a natural fit for Mutiny, where the filmmakers need to combine character-driven suspense with large-scale action. The writers, Lindsay Michelle and J.P. Davis, also bring an action thriller sensibility to the project. Davis previously worked on Mayday, which was also directed by Richet, creating an existing creative connection between the writer and director. So, rather than saying that Mutiny was directly inspired by one particular true event, it is more accurate to say that the film brings together several established thriller ideas and reshapes them around its central character. The filmmakers combine the wrongly accused man, the trained military action hero, the international conspiracy, the revenge mission, and the confined maritime environment into one story. At the emotional level, the inspiration can also be understood through the idea of trust being destroyed. Cole begins with a professional life in which his skills and experience should give him confidence. But once he is framed for a murder, the normal rules disappear. He cannot simply depend on the authorities to protect him, because he himself has become a suspect. This forces him to operate independently and find his own path toward the truth. That creates the central tension of the movie. When the system turns against you, do you continue to follow the system, or do you take matters into your own hands? This question fits perfectly with the title, Mutiny, and gives the action a thematic foundation. Ultimately, the inspiration behind Mutiny 2026 appears to come less from one specific historical incident and more from the action thriller tradition itself. It takes familiar ingredients, an innocent man being framed, a powerful conspiracy, military skills, revenge, betrayal, and a dangerous journey, and combines them with Jason Statham's particular style of action cinema. For Hollybuzz, the simplest way to describe the inspiration is this. Mutiny takes the classic idea of a man who has been betrayed and wrongly accused, gives him the skills of a trained operative, places him inside an international conspiracy, and sends him into a dangerous maritime environment where finding the truth becomes a fight for survival. That combination is what forms the creative foundation of the movie. The development of Mutiny 2096 began as a collaboration between screenwriters J.P. Davis and Lindsay Michelle, who developed the story around Cole Reed, a former Special Forces operative who becomes caught in a dangerous conspiracy after being framed for the murder of his billionaire employer. From the beginning, the project was designed as a fast-paced action thriller, but the filmmakers also wanted the story to contain mystery, betrayal, and suspense so that the audience would have more to follow than simply the action sequences. A major step in the development of the project was bringing in Jean-François Richet as director. Richet already had experience with action-driven thrillers, making him a natural choice for a movie that required both physical action and suspense. His previous work helped establish confidence that he could handle the demanding combination of character drama, large-scale action, and tense environments required by Mutiny.
The project became even more significant when Jason
Statham was attached to play the lead role of Cole Reed. Statham's involvement immediately gave the movie a recognizable identity because of his long association with action cinema. His character was specifically suited to his strengths. Cole is highly trained, physically capable, and experienced in dangerous situations, but he is also placed inside a mystery that requires him to think and investigate rather than simply fight. Statham's involvement went beyond acting. He also became a producer on the project alongside Mark Bouton. This meant that Statham had a role in the development and production of the movie as well as the responsibility of portraying its central character. His experience in action filmmaking was particularly useful for a project that required extensive physical sequences and stunt work. The film attracted additional attention during the 2024 Cannes Film Market, where the project was presented to the international film industry. This stage was important because major movies often require international distribution arrangements before or during production. The project was subsequently positioned for a broad theatrical release, with Lionsgate becoming the principal U.S. distributor. Once the main creative team was established, the filmmakers expanded the cast around Statham. The supporting cast includes Annabelle Wallis, Roland Møller, Jason Wong, and Adrian Lester, among others. Building the ensemble was important because the story depends on relationships between Cole and the different people connected to the conspiracy. Principal photography began in September 2024 in the United Kingdom. The production used real locations rather than relying entirely on studio environments. This approach helped the filmmakers create a more realistic atmosphere for the story, particularly because the movie moves between urban environments and more isolated maritime settings. One of the notable British filming areas was Canary Wharf in London. The production filmed around 1 Canada Square, an iconic part of London's financial district. The location was particularly appropriate for the story because the movie begins within a world connected to wealth, business, and powerful individuals. Filming in an active financial district created logistical challenges. The production had to coordinate with local authorities, security, businesses, and the public while controlling areas needed for filming. The temporary control of access around 1 Canada Square demonstrated the level of planning required to shoot. A major feature, film in a busy city environment. The production later moved to Malta, which provided a completely different environment. Malta's coastline and maritime infrastructure were useful for the film's ship-based sequences. The cargo ship is an important part of Cole's journey, and filming in a real maritime environment helped create a stronger sense of physical realism. The Malta portion of the production also allowed the movie to expand visually beyond the urban environment of London. The change from skyscrapers and city streets to ships, water, ports, and open surroundings reflects the increasingly dangerous journey undertaken by Cole. Action filmmaking was one of the biggest production challenges. Because Mutiny is built around a highly trained protagonist, the movie requires physical confrontations, stunts, weapons, movement through confined spaces, and other demanding sequences.
These scenes require extensive
Preparation because every action has to be coordinated between the actors, stunt performers, camera crew, lighting department, special effects teams, and safety personnel. After the principal photography period, the movie entered post-production. This stage involved editing the footage into a coherent narrative, refining the pacing of the action sequences, completing visual effects, creating the sound design, and adding the musical score. Post-production is particularly important for an action thriller because the rhythm of editing can determine whether an action sequence feels exciting, confusing, slow, or intense. The filmmakers also had to ensure that the mystery elements remained effective during editing. Mutiny is not simply a collection of action scenes. The audience must gradually understand Cole's situation and the conspiracy surrounding him. Therefore, information has to be revealed at the right moments. Too much information too early could reduce the mystery, while revealing too little could make the story difficult to follow. Once the film reached its completed form, attention shifted toward its theatrical release and marketing campaign. Lionsgate became responsible for bringing the finished movie to audiences in the United States, while international distribution arrangements allowed the film to reach viewers in other territories. The release schedule also changed during the development process. The film was originally scheduled for an earlier release, but the studio eventually moved it to August 24, 2026 in the United States. Release date changes are common in Hollywood and can be influenced by factors such as the overall theatrical calendar, competition, marketing strategy, and the studio's assessment of the best period for the movie. The complete production journey therefore took the project through several major stages: screenplay development, attachment of the director and lead actor, expansion of the cast, international market presentation, principal photography in the United Kingdom and Malta, post-production marketing, and finally theatrical distribution. What makes the production history particularly interesting is the combination of experienced action filmmakers and a major action star. Jean-François Richet brought his directing experience. J.P. Davis and Lindsay Michelle provided the screenplay. Jason Statham combined his leading performance with producing duties, and the production companies and studio provided the infrastructure needed to complete the project. By the time production was completed, Mutiny had developed from a screenplay into a large-scale international action thriller with real-world locations, demanding stunt work, an established cast, and a major theatrical distributor behind it. For Hollybuzz, the most important point is that Mutiny was not created overnight. Its journey involved years of development, assembling the creative team, securing production and distribution support, preparing the cast and crew, filming across different environments, and completing extensive post-production before the movie could finally reach audiences. In short, the production history of Mutiny 2026 is a story of transformation from an action thriller concept on paper to a finished theatrical film built around Jason Statham's performance as Cole Reed and Jean-François Richet's direction. Every stage, from the screenplay to the final edit, was designed to create a tense combination of action, conspiracy, betrayal, and survival. Now let's take a closer look at the main cast of Mutiny 2026. Because the cast is one of the major reasons this action thriller has attracted attention. At the center of the movie is Jason Statham, supported by an international ensemble that includes Annabelle Wallis, Roland Møller, Jason Wong, and Adrian Lester. Each actor brings a different screen presence to the story, helping create the tense world of conspiracy, betrayal, and survival. The leading role is played by Jason Statham, who portrays Cole Reed. Cole is a former special forces operative who later worked as a private security professional. His military background makes him highly capable in dangerous situations, but the character is also placed inside a mystery that requires more than physical strength. After his billionaire employer is murdered and Cole is framed for the crime, he becomes involved in a dangerous conspiracy and must fight to discover the truth. Jason Statham is particularly well-suited to the role because action cinema has been a major part of his career. His performances are often built around physically capable characters who remain calm under pressure and respond directly to danger. In Mutiny, this established image fits naturally with Cole's military background. However, the character also gives Statham an opportunity to combine action with investigation, because Cole must uncover information while attempting to survive. Annabelle Wallis is another major member of the cast. Wallis is known for appearing in a wide range of films and television projects, including action, horror, drama, and thriller productions. Her presence adds another important dimension to the movie's ensemble. Rather than making the film entirely dependent on the central male action hero, her character contributes to the wider network of people surrounding Cole and the conspiracy. Wallis brings a strong dramatic presence to the movie, which is important because Mutiny is not designed to be action from beginning to end. The story also requires characters who can carry suspenseful conversations, relationships, and moments where information is revealed gradually. Her role therefore helps broaden the emotional and dramatic side of the film. Møller is another important member of the cast. The Danish actor has considerable experience in action and thriller productions, and brings a physically imposing screen presence to the movie. His involvement is particularly appropriate for a story where Cole encounters dangerous individuals and increasingly difficult obstacles. Müller's style works well within the atmosphere of Mutiny because the film requires characters who can make the world feel threatening. In a conspiracy thriller, the audience needs to believe that the protagonist is genuinely surrounded by people who could pose a serious danger. Supporting performances therefore help create the sense of pressure surrounding Cole. Jason Wong is also part of the principal cast. Wong has appeared in several action-oriented productions and brings experience with physically demanding cinematic roles. His inclusion strengthens the movie's action ensemble and contributes to the wider network of characters involved in Cole's dangerous journey. Another significant cast member is Adrian Lester. Lester is an experienced British actor whose work includes film, television, and theater. His presence adds another level of dramatic credibility to the ensemble. Unlike a movie that depends entirely on physical action, Mutiny requires actors capable of communicating suspicion, authority, conflict, and uncertainty through dialogue and performance. The combination of these actors gives Mutiny a diverse ensemble rather than a cast built around only one personality. Statham provides the central action presence, while the supporting actors help build the surrounding world of characters, relationships, and conflicts. The casting is also important because the story depends on trust and uncertainty. Cole is surrounded by people whose motivations may not always be immediately clear. This means the actors have to maintain a certain level of ambiguity. The audience should be able to question who can be trusted, which makes the performances an important part of the thriller experience. Jason Statham's role is particularly central because Cole Reed carries the majority of the story. The audience experiences the conspiracy largely through his perspective. When Cole discovers new information, the audience discovers it with him. When he becomes a target, the audience experiences the increasing danger through his journey. His military background also gives the character a physical dimension that is essential to the movie. Cole can fight, defend himself, and respond to tactical situations, but the story does not depend entirely on these abilities. The supporting cast provides the interpersonal conflicts and mysteries that force him to think beyond combat. Another strength of the cast is the combination of British and international performers. Since the movie has an international conspiracy at its center, an international ensemble helps the world of the story feel broader. The actors bring different backgrounds and performance styles to the film, creating a varied group of characters around Cole. The supporting cast also helps prevent the movie from becoming repetitive. In a thriller where one protagonist is constantly moving from one dangerous situation to another, different characters can change the tone of individual scenes. Some may provide information, others may create suspicion, and others may directly challenge Cole. Ultimately, the main cast of Mutiny 2026 is built around a clear, central figure and a strong supporting ensemble. Jason Statham leads as Cole Reed. while Annabelle Wallis, Roland Møller, Jason Wong, and Adrian Lester contribute to the wider, dramatic and action-driven world of the story. For Hollybuzz, the key point is that the casting reflects the movie's overall identity. It needs actors who can handle both action and suspense, because the story is not only about fighting, it is also about uncovering a conspiracy, dealing with betrayal, questioning motives, and trying to survive when the people around you may not be what they seem. With Jason Statham at the center and an experienced supporting cast surrounding him, Mutiny has assembled a group of performers capable of bringing its combination of military action, conspiracy, mystery, and high-stakes survival to the screen. Now let's talk about the trailer views and public response to Mutiny, 2026. The first official trailer was released by Lionsgate. Movies on April 9, 2026, and it immediately attracted attention because it featured Jason Statham in another major action role. On the official Lionsgate Movies YouTube channel, the trailer has accumulated more than 4.6 million views, along with more than 43,000 likes according to the currently available YouTube statistics. A second official trailer was released later in July, giving audiences another look at the story and increasing interest as the theatrical release approached. The trailer's view count is significant because it demonstrates that there is already a substantial audience interested in seeing what Jason Statham does with this new action thriller role. However, it is important to remember that YouTube views should not automatically be interpreted as the number of unique people who are planning to watch the movie in theaters. The same person can watch a trailer multiple times, and the trailer is also available through other channels and platforms. Therefore, the view count is best understood as an indicator of online attention and promotional reach, rather than a guaranteed prediction of box office success. The response from action movie fans has generally been focused on one major attraction: Jason Statham. His name immediately tells audiences what kind of physical action they can expect. The trailer presents him as Cole Reed, a highly capable man who becomes involved in a dangerous conspiracy after his billionaire employer is murdered. The combination of Statham, hand-to-hand combat, weapons, pursuit, and a revenge-driven storyline has made the trailer particularly appealing to viewers who already enjoy his previous action movies. At the same time, the public response has not been completely one-sided. Discussions among movie and action fans show both enthusiasm and skepticism. Some viewers have praised the trailer for looking entertaining and more ambitious than a straightforward, low-budget action movie. Others have questioned whether Mutiny might follow a familiar Jason Statham formula, arguing that the basic setup resembles several of his previous films. These reactions show an interesting divide. Fans who enjoy Statham's established style see the familiar formula as part of the appeal, while some other viewers want the movie to offer something genuinely different. One recurring point in online discussions is the comparison with Statham's recent action films. Some viewers have suggested that Mutiny looks more exciting than Shelter, while others have compared its potential performance with movies, such as A Working Man and The Beekeeper. These comparisons are useful because they show how audiences are already placing Mutiny within Statham's wider action film career before the movie has even reached theaters. The trailer has also generated discussion because of its setting and premise. Instead of placing Statham entirely in a familiar city-based action story, Mutiny sends Cole Reed into an international conspiracy and onto a cargo ship. This gives the film a more confined and distinctive environment for its action sequences. The official synopsis emphasizes that Cole boards the ship after being framed for his employer's murder and discovers a larger international conspiracy. Another reason for the public interest is the film's supporting cast. Alongside Jason Statham, audiences will see actors including Annabelle Wallis Roland, Møller, Adrian Lester, Jason Wong, and others. This has created expectations that the movie will offer more than one-dimensional action characters and will have enough supporting personalities to strengthen the conspiracy and suspense elements. The public response has also been influenced by the trailer's presentation of the movie's action. Viewers have responded to the fighting, weapons, physical confrontations, and the general impression that Cole is going to be placed under constant pressure. For Statham fans, these elements are particularly important because physical action is one of the main reasons audiences go to see his movies. However, there is an important distinction between trailer response and movie reviews. As of now, Mutiny has not yet been released, so there are no meaningful completed film audience ratings to report. Rotten Tomatoes currently lists the movie with 0 critic reviews and 0 verified audience ratings, meaning it would be misleading to describe. The film is already receiving a positive or negative audience score. This is actually an important point for our Hollybuzz audience. A trailer can look spectacular, generate millions of views, and create strong online discussion, but the final movie still has to prove itself. Audiences will ultimately judge the screenplay, pacing, action choreography, performances, character development, cinematography, and ending after watching the complete film. The available online discussion suggests that expectations are mixed but clearly active. There is a strong group of viewers who simply enjoy Jason Statham's style and are excited to see another action movie from him. At the same time, some viewers are asking whether Mutiny can break away from the familiar formula associated with many modern Statham action films. That question may become one of the most important factors in the movie's eventual reception. The second trailer has also helped maintain attention as the release date approaches. Tracking data available through late July showed continued activity around the trailers, including additional views for the second trailer. This suggests that the promotional campaign has continued to build awareness rather than relying entirely on the first trailer released in April. Overall, the trailer response can be described as strong audience curiosity with divided expectations. The millions of views demonstrate substantial interest. Jason Statham's presence is clearly one of the movie's biggest attractions, and the action-heavy premise has generated discussion among fans. But there is also a noticeable desire among some viewers for the movie to provide something beyond the familiar Statham formula, so the final verdict from the public cannot be given yet. The trailer has successfully created attention, anticipation, and debate, but the real test will begin when audiences finally see the complete movie in theaters. For Hollybuzz, the key takeaway is simple. Mutiny has already established a significant online presence through its trailers, with the first official trailer passing 4.6 million views on Lionsgate Movies' YouTube channel, while public discussion ranges from excitement about another Statham action thriller to concerns that the movie could feel too familiar, and that makes the theatrical release especially interesting. The question is no longer whether people are curious about Mutiny. The trailer numbers show that they are. The bigger question is whether the finished film can turn that curiosity into positive word of mouth, strong audience ratings, and box office success. Now, let's break down the official trailer of Mutiny 2026 and look at what it reveals about the story, the characters, and the kind of action thriller audiences can expect. The trailer immediately establishes Cole Reed, played by Jason Statham, as a highly trained and physically capable man whose life changes dramatically after his billionaire employer is murdered. The opening moments are designed to introduce the world of the movie before the situation completely falls apart. Cole is presented as someone who works in the world of private security and is accustomed to protecting powerful people. His military background is important because it explains why he is able to react quickly when danger arrives. The trailer does not present him as an ordinary man suddenly forced into action. Instead, it establishes him as someone who already knows how to survive dangerous situations. The tone changes when the murder of Cole's billionaire employer becomes the central event. This is where the trailer begins transforming from a character introduction into a conspiracy thriller. Cole is not simply dealing with the death of someone he was protecting. He becomes connected to the crime itself, and the circumstances surrounding the murder make him a target. One of the most important elements shown in the trailer is the idea that Cole has been framed. Instead of being treated as someone who can help solve the murder, he becomes someone who must defend himself. This immediately creates a major problem for the protagonist. The people who should potentially help him may actually be hunting him. The trailer uses this situation to establish the movie's central question: who is really responsible for the murder? Cole understands that something much bigger is happening, and he begins trying to uncover the truth. Every piece of information he discovers appears to lead him deeper into the conspiracy. The action then begins to increase. We see Cole using his physical training to deal with people trying to stop him. The trailer emphasizes hand-to-hand combat, weapons, pursuit, and close-quarters fighting, making it clear that the movie is designed as a physical action thriller rather than a dialogue-heavy mystery. One interesting aspect of the trailer is that Cole's action skills are presented as part of his character, rather than as random abilities. His special forces background gives the audience an explanation for why he can handle multiple threats. His experience allows him to make fast decisions and use his surroundings to his advantage. The trailer also introduces the idea that Cole is running while investigating at the same time. Normally, a person investigating a murder might have the protection of law enforcement or an established institution. Cole does not have that luxury because he himself has become a suspect. This creates a classic fugitive thriller structure in which the protagonist must stay alive long enough to uncover the truth. Another important part of the trailer is the gradual movement toward the cargo ship. The ship becomes one of the most distinctive environments in the movie. Once Cole's investigation takes him into this maritime setting, the story becomes more confined. There are fewer places to escape, and the physical environment itself can become a weapon or an obstacle. The cargo ship also changes the visual atmosphere of the trailer. Instead of open city streets and modern buildings, audiences see metal corridors, industrial spaces, decks, machinery, and the surrounding sea. This gives the action a much more enclosed and dangerous feeling. The trailer suggests that the ship is not simply a background location, it is closely connected to the conspiracy Cole is trying to uncover. His decision to go there is part of his attempt to find answers, but entering this environment also places him directly in greater danger. Another important detail is the international scale of the conspiracy. The trailer does not make the story feel like a simple personal revenge mission. Cole gradually discovers that the murder is connected to something much larger. This expands the stakes and suggests that the people behind the events have significant resources and influence. The supporting characters are also used carefully in the trailer. Instead of explaining every character's role, the promotional footage keeps some information deliberately unclear. This is a common technique in mystery thrillers because revealing too much before release would reduce the suspense. The trailer also gives audiences an impression of the relationship between trust and betrayal. Cole has to decide who can help him and who might be working against him. This uncertainty is important because the movie's title, Mutiny, already suggests a breakdown of loyalty and authority. The action sequences shown in the trailer appear to become progressively more intense. Early scenes establish the problem, while later scenes focus more heavily on physical confrontation and survival. This creates the impression that the movie will gradually move from mystery to full-scale action rather than starting at maximum intensity. Immediately, Jason Statham's performance is also central to the trailer's impact. His character is generally presented as controlled and determined rather than constantly emotional. Cole appears to understand that panic will not help him. His response to danger is therefore practical. Assess the situation, find an opening, and fight his way through it. The trailer also makes use of Statham's familiar action persona. Audiences who have watched his previous movies will immediately recognize the combination of calm confidence, physical combat, and short, direct reactions to danger. At the same time, the conspiracy storyline gives the character a reason to keep investigating rather than simply fighting one enemy after another. Another important element is the sense of escalation. At the beginning, the problem appears to be a murder. Then Cole becomes a suspect. After that, he discovers evidence of a larger conspiracy. Eventually, the conflict expands into a situation involving powerful people and dangerous opponents. This escalation gives the movie a much larger scope than the opening premise suggests. The trailer also carefully avoids revealing the complete mystery. We see enough information to understand Cole's situation, but the identities and motives of the people behind the conspiracy are not completely explained. This is important because the mystery is one of the reasons audiences will want to watch the full movie. From a visual perspective, the trailer emphasizes large urban environments, industrial locations, maritime settings, physical combat, and high-pressure action. The contrast between modern city environments and the confined cargo ship helps the movie develop a distinctive visual identity. The trailer's editing is also designed to create urgency. Short action shots are placed alongside pieces of dialogue and character reactions, allowing the audience to understand the basic story without revealing every major event. The result is a promotional video that gives viewers the outline of the story while keeping the biggest mysteries hidden. Perhaps the biggest question raised by the trailer is whether Cole can clear his name before the people behind the conspiracy eliminate him. That question connects the movie's two main elements. The mystery gives Cole something to discover, while the action gives him something to survive. So, when we break down the Mutiny trailer, we can see a clear progression. Cole Reed's introduction, billionaire employer's murder. Cole being framed, escape and investigation. Discovery of a larger conspiracy. No pursuit and combat, cargo ship conflict, escalating danger. The trailer therefore does more than show Jason Statham fighting. It establishes the basic dramatic journey of the protagonist and gives the audience a reason to care about the mystery surrounding him. For Hollybuzz, the biggest takeaway from the trailer is that Mutiny appears to combine the familiar strengths of a Jason Statham action movie with a more mystery-driven storyline. The physical action provides the excitement, while the conspiracy provides the questions, and the trailer deliberately leaves us with the biggest question unanswered. Who is really behind the conspiracy, and can Cole Reed uncover the truth before the people hunting him catch him? That mystery is ultimately what the full movie has to answer. And with that, we come to the end of our complete breakdown of Mutiny 2026. From Jason Statham's character Cole Reed and the mysterious murder that changes his life, to the international conspiracy, intense action, dangerous enemies, and the cargo ship setting, this movie brings together many of the elements that audiences expect from a modern action thriller. But what makes the story interesting is that Cole is not simply fighting his way through a series of enemies. He is also trying to understand what is really happening, who betrayed him, and why he has been placed at the center of a conspiracy that could be much bigger than he initially imagined. The movie also gives Jason Statham another opportunity to showcase the qualities that have made him one of the most recognizable action stars of modern cinema. His physical presence, fighting style, determination, and calm attitude under pressure are all central to the character of Cole Reed. At the same time, the mystery surrounding the story gives the movie another layer, because audiences are not only waiting to see the next action sequence, they are also waiting to discover the truth. Whether Mutiny ultimately becomes one of Jason Statham's strongest action films or follows a more familiar formula remains to be seen. The trailers have already created significant interest, but the real judgment will come from audiences after they experience the complete story. The success of the movie will depend on more than its action scenes. Its screenplay, character development, performances, pacing, suspense, cinematography, and ending will all determine whether it can leave a lasting impression. One thing is certain. Mutiny has all the ingredients of a high-stakes action thriller. A trained protagonist, powerful enemies, betrayal, conspiracy, survival, and a fight for the truth. And when those elements are combined with Jason Statham in the lead, the movie naturally becomes one of the action releases that fans will be watching closely. So if you are a fan of Jason Statham, action thrillers, conspiracy stories, intense combat, and high-pressure survival missions, Mutiny 2026 is certainly a movie worth keeping on your radar. Now, the only question is whether the finished film can live up to the expectations created by its trailers and turn all of that action and suspense into a truly memorable cinematic experience. If you enjoyed this complete breakdown, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Hollybuzz, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming movie updates, trailers, reviews, hidden details, cast analysis, and behind-the-scenes stories. And most importantly, tell us in the comments. Are you excited to watch Mutiny? And do you think Jason Statham can deliver another unforgettable action performance? Until the next video, stay connected with Hollybuzz. Keep watching, keep exploring, and keep discovering the stories behind the movies you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.